Welcome to Pavitra. Good evening. Thank you for joining us today. At Pavitra, we aim to enhance the health, wellness, and spiritual quotient of all living beings. Please follow us on our YouTube, Instagram, Facebook handles at Pavitra Connect for the latest updates on our upcoming sessions, webinars, classes, meditation sessions, products, and service launches. At Pavitra, we aim to partner with like-minded individuals, NGOs, and organizations the community forward. We hope to empower underprivileged women and other sections of society as we take our growth path. This evening, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Avatar Lila ji once again on the Pavitra platform. Avatar Lila gave up a fledgling corporate career at a very early age to go discover more about life. He moved into a temple for many, many years and has recently moved out. He spends his time helping people, individuals, find a better version of their true selves. So very excited today to speak to him and talk to him about what's next. The COVID pandemic is all over the place and everything that we hear is about COVID. But there is a future. What's next? And one of the things that I wanted to start with is the fact that in the recent few weeks, we've heard about mental health issues coming to the fore, manifesting themselves. A couple of prominent personalities, unfortunately, committing suicide. So why is this coming to the fore now? And what's your view on this? And how can one, tackle this? How can we keep this together?
Thank you, Chetan. I hope I'm clearly audible to you.
Yes, you are.
Everyone? Okay, great. Thank you, first of all, for bringing me on this platform, interacting with all these wonderful people. Actually, honestly, with this recent 1 month of several suicides happening, especially from the celebrity section of the society, has made people start questioning the very definition of success. In fact, the statistics are very startling. According to a research at World Health Organization, according to a survey there, we have one suicide every 40 seconds in the world somewhere. And out of 20 people attempting suicide, one becomes successful. So that means every 2 seconds, there is someone out there in the world who is attempting to self-harm, who attempted to take up their lives. And the reasons could be umpteen and it could be very, very, grotesque in nature. But one of the things that is also coming to surface is, and that has become exacerbated more during the lockdown time and during the COVID pandemic, adding to the stress, adding to the uncertainty, adding to that factor of, seemingly losing everything without any hope. But one of the things that is happening, I would like to point out that particular thing and hear your opinion also on that is, we are living in a world where we have an information explosion, as they say. And what happens is when there is a lot of information explosion, the way human brains are wired, we start losing attention. Now, when we start losing attention, this starts reflecting in your academics, this starts reflecting lack of focus in your career, your job, and even in your relationships. And one of the things that's happening is because of this social media presence or over addiction to gadgets and over exposure to social media, what's happening is we are leading a life of loneliness. Now, you'd be surprised, but in Japan, there are 500,000 people who have not went out of their home to meet somebody in last 6 months. That's the kind of proportion we're actually talking about. And when we are lonely, and especially when things start breaking apart all around us, we have no one to talk to, people start wallowing in their own self-pity and, kind of own sadness or feelings of depression. And when people start feeling hopeless, when they see that the living life is more painful than taking away life, that's the time they actually venture out into that kind of a space. And someone was asking me that what does it take to actually stop someone from taking such a step in self-harm? And I was saying, it's not much, honestly speaking. And I was giving them an example from our sacred text called the Ramayana, where Mother Sita, when she's abducted and she's in Ashok Vatika, and she's being constantly harassed by Ravan and, intimidated by Ravan. At one point of time, she is actually thinking of committing suicide. Valmiki Ramayana says she's thinking of committing suicide. And what stopped her at that point was that Hanuman started speaking some glorification, some hope-giving messages to Sita, and she gave up that whole idea. And I was telling this gentleman that sometimes all it takes is one simple heart-to-heart conversation in order for a person to start seeing hope. And this is what that needs to be done, even not just during the pandemic or after the pandemic. This is going to be a bigger global issue than the corona in itself. Corona is just kind of exacerbated the whole thing, but otherwise mental wellness is something that the whole world has to fight for several years to come, and if God forbid it actually grows in proportion. But sometimes very simple things like just meaningful conversation, and I call them non-agenda based conversations, where you just sit with your loved ones, sit with your working colleagues, sit with your siblings, sit with your parents, and have conversation which is not necessarily based around some agenda to be solved or a problem to be looked at, but just heart to heart trying to connect with people. Somehow we are missing this particular aspect in our current day living because we have replaced a lot of face-to-face time with the screen times. But the screen doesn't reciprocate the way an individual's heart can actually reciprocate. And therefore, and this starts escalating more as people start becoming more famous, and the celebrity status with people anyways just start getting aloof from the rest of the society, and it actually exacerbates. Another thing that happens, and which is very startling and it's really affecting the youngsters in this day and age, is their whole idea of connectivity on the social network. We have like probably thousands of friends on Facebook, but we sometimes lack that one crucial connection which would otherwise help us while we are actually sinking in the valleys of our own self-pity. So what happens on social media? What happens is people always post the best curated version of themselves. Nobody comes on Instagram and puts a picture where they are like, depressed or sad or feeling ugly. No, everybody has a smiling face. Everybody looks gorgeous. Everybody is in a triumphant state. Everybody is like a champion life. And what happens is everyone who is glued to social media starts thinking that that's what life is. But the point is, life is not in great moments. Life is in small moments. Life is, majority of time we live in smaller moments, not in these great moments. These great moments come and go once in a while in life. But what happens is when we get too exposed to social media and we start seeing that's reality, if our version of reality is coming from what social media is teaching us and showing us, we get into this whole complex that I'm not good enough. Our self-worth starts getting harmed. We start living in a very complex world where we think everything should go right in my life. How can something fail? Because nobody out there on Instagram is showing their failure. Nobody out there on Facebook showing their failure. Nobody on LinkedIn is telling that I got fired. Everybody is showing that they were successful in this, and this is wonderful. But the point is we need to have a balanced version of what exactly reality is all about, and not have like a convoluted version of what life is all about. Yeah.
True.
I think
I think you make some great points, and it's true that we are living in this, we are married to our gadgets, so to speak, and screen time is, primary for us. But, looking at the theme of our discussion, what's next? How can we have this time for ourselves now? COVID is, it will pass. This is not the end of civilization. It will go by and we will move on. But we have time. What do we focus on? How can we, train ourselves to be more open and less involved with our gadgets? Is spirituality that connect, or is it mindfulness or yoga? What can we do to get over this loneliness and this spiral that we get into?
Thank you, Chetan. Actually, honestly speaking, when the whole thing, the COVID and the Corona actually began, initially people were in self-denial. Initially, people felt it won't come to India. Even if it came to India, people felt it won't come to my city. Even if it came to my city, it won't come to my territory. Even if it came to my territory, then people started thinking it won't come to my building. Then God forbid it, people started feeling it won't come to my floor. Then it won't come to my house. It won't come to me. But then we kept resisting that whole idea. This is what happens in life a lot of times. When challenges, difficult things, unexpected things come in our life, more we resist them, we lose energy. Now this COVID kind of situation, which is somewhere beyond human control, we can try our level best to do whatever we can to save ourselves, to save our loved one, family members, but we may have to start broadening our vision. I'm saying, don't even hope that the new normal is going to be same as good old days. Maybe not. We may have to change, right? This happened when we had in 2001, we had 9/11 attack, right? The As soon as the 9/11 attack happened, the whole way aviation industry operated, the kind of security beefs up that happened, the kind of security procedures that were installed at the airports, it just went to another level. And we are still living with it. We have still adapted ourselves. We are still living with it. So instead of resisting what has happened and changed, we need to now look at how we can adapt. I give this analogy of, so basically what we need, people who are going to thrive and flourish, whether it is business, whether it is relationships, whether it is academics, whether it is any walk of life, one quality that we need at this moment to be resiliently facing this pandemic is flexibility or adaptability. To be able to be flexible enough to change the way we operate in this world. Like if anyone has gone on a mountain hiking, so when you're in the base of the mountain, you have a certain kind of plan. Okay, this is how I'm going to climb. This is how I'm going to escalate the mountain. But once you start climbing up the mountain, then you start realizing, oh my God, there's a creek here. Oh my God, there's a cave here. Oh my God, this is very slippery. I need to change. I need to constantly adapt myself. And you can constantly adapt yourself only when your vision is on the summit. Only when you have an aspiration to reach the summit. If you're looking at comfort more than the aspiration to reach the summit, you will give up. Similarly, there are people, I'm interacting with so many business heads and CXOs who have faced this kind of predicament, but they are now working out novel ways of how they can deal with this pandemic. How can they deal with this change scenario and still flourish, still grow? Yes, we might go slow. Let's accept it.
Sure.
Let's accept that by next March, our economy would not be the same shape the way it was. But it is not the first time humans are facing a challenge. Probably in our generation, yes. Right? According to a study at Harvard, this particular pandemic has an economic setback which has not been faced in the last 100 years. So probably we don't know how exactly to face it, but people in the past have faced it and have grown beyond it. So I think one of the things which really we all need to imbibe in our own personal life is, which will help us broaden our perspectives, is the concept of flexibility. The ability to accept the situation for what it is without resisting it, and then asking ourselves, what do I need to change? What do I need to do differently in order to keep moving, right? So as you correctly said, yoga, mindfulness, and all these aspects, basically this helps an individual to connect itself with reality, but not identify with the reality. This is very important. You can't solve a problem if you're like consumed by the problem. Right. Like Einstein said, you cannot solve a problem with the same level of awareness which created it. You have to go beyond it in order to solve this issue. So yes, for the corona pandemic, there are certain things we can do. There are some things we can't do. It's just time that will reveal how things will actually evolve. What we can do is probably spend time on ourselves, is maybe develop some skills. Maybe work on something that you always postponed earlier. Maybe just use it as a sabbatical, right? I can understand that there could be serious concerns about job and family security and everything else, but sometimes you may have to adapt to a situation which is beyond your control. Maybe we have to even change the status of our living in certain situations, but it is fine. If we have those loving people all around us, and if we value relationships in our lives, scaling down the way we live, scaling down our VVIP address, I think that should not be a big deal for the time being. We all go through ups and downs.
You can always bounce back.
So we can actually always bounce back. It's not always like you're stuck, you're not always this. And majority of the anxiety that we face is because of the anxiety of maintaining the status quo. It's like, I don't know, how am I going to live with a different standard and the way of living? Like, for example, just bring into your perspective. Like work from home is becoming a new reality, right? Work from home. And it's no more work from home. People initially were excited that it's going to work from home. It's going to be awesome. I can sip my coffee anytime. I can ask my mom to make pakoras for me anytime. I can munch them while I'm working. But now the reality has changed. And one of my young friends was actually telling me that it is no more work from home. It is living at work. There are no boundaries. Right? It is like you're all the time, 24/7, all on weekends, weekdays. You have lost capacity to even divide time for even yourself. What to speak of just green productivity. So then people are getting bored at home, right? People are actually getting bored at home, not just because they're confined in that place, but because they are just confined to one kind of activity in that place. We need to probably diversify the kind of activities we do. Why just work? Why just gadget? Why just a laptop? Let me do yoga. Let me read something interesting. Let me go and talk to my mom. Let me go and help her in the kitchen. Let me go and mop the house. Let me try and do something different, something new, something exciting, something wonderful. Add some element of adventure in life and still, not get like too much paranoid about what's going to happen, because things are not beyond our control.
Yeah, that's
so. I'm saying a lot of things are going to change with this pandemic, even passing forward, working from home, the way we work. Like I was just speaking to one of my friends who heads a company in North India, and he was telling me, just imagine the impact of work from home, how it is going to actually redefine the way the world is operating. We won't need taxis. Probably you won't need 10 pairs of trousers. You probably can just sit in your pajamas or shorts and just be at home working, right? Or you could be you won't need 10 pair of shoes. Life might actually become extremely simple. Many of these services might become redundant. Now, this happened in the United States. We have this ride sharing company called Lyft.
Yes.
And they didn't had any kind of business at that time. So Amazon came forward and they say, we have to meet this increasing demand of homebound sellers. Why don't you give us your drivers and the fleet and just start ordering? So collaboration has to be looked at. If you're looking at business, collaboration has to be looked at more than competition. Sustenance has to be looked at more than escalation. Relationships have to be looked at more than any kind of resources or will like that. So I believe when we become mindful, so this is where yoga and mindfulness and spirituality actually comes into picture, where we can start seeing a bigger picture, a bigger purpose for why we exist, what are we supposed to do, and start looking beyond ourselves. This is extremely crucial. We are wallowing in self-pity, but probably we need to start looking beyond ourselves and see what we can contribute. Don't ask yourself this question, what did I lose? Probably ask this question, what did I learn from this whole situation? So yeah, I think yoga, spirituality has a lot to do with how people start perceiving the world.
Also, again, going back to what's next, I think you mentioned about being adaptive and flexible, even in the business front. I think, and that's very important because, the world is not going to end. Consumption will still happen. Businesses will still need to exist. And it's about, I guess, your mindset. How do you view the current situation? Being positive and figuring out a way to align your business to what's going to happen in the future and stay relevant. In terms of, medicine for the mind, the thing that we can change, and like you said, adaptability, flexibility, it all lies here. Give us some medicine for the mind. How can we tune ourselves? What are some of the things that I can do at home? You mentioned things about, not just working at home and talking to your mom and activities, but what are some of the medicines that I can use for my mind to be more positive and focus a little bit more on the larger picture in life?
Yeah, very interesting. Actually, the way mind actually becomes pacified is through love, is through affection. And you look at a small child. You look at a small child who's like crying and shouting and, is all by himself. The way his mother many times pacifies him is not by giving him what he wants, but giving him unconditional love and affection. This can go this is extremely deep concept, actually, honestly speaking. So what happens at times is when we are in this situation where our mind is not finding peace, some people came and told me that I can't even meditate. I used to meditate earlier, but now it is just so much anxiety.
Right.
What I would strongly recommend at this stage, we need to do two things. We need to connect with ourselves. And for that, we need to connect with few people whom we trust and love from the bottom of our hearts. Connect means we actually need to share what we are fearful of. Don't bottle up your emotions. Don't express those emotions, just process those emotions. So we need to do a little bit of groundwork in terms of having healthy conversations with people around us, and that will affect your conversation happening with yourself. Just like you want to create a building, you have to create a foundation first of all. So even if you have to engage in meditation, you need to be a little bit peaceful in the mind to actually be able to practice that exercise. Otherwise, it's like asking a person whose limbs are broken, asking him to go for a jog and be healthy. How will you go for a jog and be healthy? He's like broken limbs. what I strongly recommend, and this is like I really feel from the bottom of my heart, have very healthy, positive, candid, humorous conversations with your loved ones, with people around you, not just your spouse and girlfriends and boyfriends. Go back to your old school friends, connect that social network once again. I'm not saying like spend whole day just talking, but those 2, 3 meaningful people where you can voice your, voice your fear, where I'm not worried about my position, where I'm not worried about being judged, where I'm not worried about being questioned. I can just say, yaar, mere ko dar lag raha hai. I don't know what's going to happen. Release those emotions. We need to talk to people. Like even if you go to the Vedic history, right? Every time somebody came across an kind of a uneven situation, an unexpected moment, they went out to people first to connect, and then they came back to reconnect with themselves. Like I give you example of, I really love this book called the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And in this particular book, we have this story of this great king Parikshit, who is like cursed to die in 7 days. And the one thing that he does is he just takes care of his responsibilities, first connects with his family, hands over his responsibility, and then he goes out to people who had wisdom and asks them, what should I do? And this is such a profound wisdom. Later on, he did whatever he did, he meditated and he heard the message, he meditated and but first he went out to people, connected with them, got that emotional support, got that emotional energy. And then when he practiced what he had to practice, it had an all the more different kind of effect on themselves. So I would say, maybe do something which makes you more grounded emotionally. It could be, and makes you more mentally strong. For some of you, meditation might help. Some of you, some sort of mantra meditation might help. Like, honestly speaking, personally speaking, I personally practice mantra meditation, and that kind of helps me deal with all the uncertainties, right? And I kind of accepted more uncertainty during this pandemic. So this is like more of a uncertainty time. So when you have meditation, what does it do? See, anxiety is basically when your consciousness is too much focused in the outside world and it's disconnected here. What does meditation does? Meditation strikes a balance. It is not that you lose contact with the external world. It's not that you lose awareness of the external world, but you also become very well aware of your internal world. And when you're becoming aware of internal world, then you can do something constructive with external awareness. When you don't have, you're not connected internally, your external awareness will only lead to anxiety. So what we need to do personally in this space, and this is what I personally do, and I can honestly vouch for it, is have meaningful, deep conversations with few people where you can just express your fears, insecurities, desires, frustration, emotions without a fear of being judged or questioned. Just express that. And then when you have that bottled up feelings are removed, start practicing something which pacifies you. Start pacifying you something. Like, I don't know how many of you have seen, like I had been to villages and there, they have these wood fired stoves and they boil milk on it. So when you boil milk on it and the milk is like about to come out, the first thing that the lady does is put water on it and then remove that pot. Similarly in life, we are all like fuming with anxiety, relationships, and then put it out, then do something which will constructively work on your mind. So I personally talk to my friends, I personally talk to my mentors, voice my fears, voice my anxiety, voice my plans, voice my thoughts, voice what I want to do. At the end, then personally also get connected, meditate, read some good wisdom stuff. So I would strongly recommend that you may have something that you wanted to read. Just don't have to do much. Just from your Instagram time, not during this conversation, later on. Just from your Instagram time, take few minutes away and start reading something wisdomful. Please use this time. Mark Twain once said, a person who can't read and a person who doesn't read doesn't have much of a difference.
Nice.
Right? So therefore, when we start reflecting in so much wisdom that is all around us, right? Instead of just scrolling up and down, I'm not against it, but it's just scrolling up and down, just get into that space of self-reflection. And this is another thing I was just mentioning, Chetan, to your first question in response to that, how social media is making us. One of the things that's happening a lot with teenagers, and I like interact with teenagers a lot as my passion. I really love to do that. And one of the things that I'm finding in them is because of our overexposure to social media, we have developed a culture of instant things. From our kitchens, from our shopping, from our messaging, from our entertainment, everything is instant. We can't handle a buffering video, get dismayed. Honestly speaking, that's the word to be used. We get dismayed if you just see a buffering video. It's like, oh my God, what's happening here? Right? So we have lost the element of patience. And we have lost the capacity. Because we have lost patience, we have lost the capacity to chew things over. We are not able to process life's events. We are not able to process emotions. We are not able to process exchanges. And therefore, we are not able to understand how to handle life.
So
we need to do some.
Sorry, please. No, I'm saying the process of creation. We lost somewhere. We lost the beauty is in the process, and we've lost that process time. We just want the end result on day one.
Exactly. So one of the things that we need to do in order to even just kind of slow down and start doing things which instills patience. It could be as simple as gardening in your own balcony, because a seed is going to grow at its own pace. You can't expedite it. You can't run it at 2x speed and make it grow faster. You will develop patience. And in those moments, you will start enjoying life. I repeat, life is in those smaller moments. Life is not in those great moments, because great moments are just few. You will keep waiting and not enjoy the moment which is currently right there with you. Try to do something which instills patience. It could be as simple as cleaning your room on your own. Simple. It could be as simple as gardening. It could be as simple as cutting vegetables with your mom. Why not? We can, right? Or just with a book, just read for the sake of reading. Instill patience in your system, right? And many things would make sense.
I just wanted to talk about two things. One is on the business side. I think the fact that when you are mindful and you have a better view of the world, probably the decisions that you take, even during these times of challenging times, your anxiety is lesser. So you may probably be able to take a more informed, a better decision in life. So maybe if you can comment on that. And a follow-up on patience, Avatar Lila, is that when you spoke about teenagers, I even go back to, I have young kids. Even with young children, I think, we are looking for them to gain knowledge that we took 15 years to gain in the next 5-7 years because of information overload. If you could share some wisdom on those 2 points, I'd be very grateful to you.
Okay, thank you so much for these thoughtful questions. Actually, as far as your first question goes about businesses and how does mindfulness connects with making decisions. Actually, according to research at several universities in United States, mindfulness or meditation in perspective, it affects 8 specific parts of your brain. Okay, it affects 8 specific parts of your brain. One of them is called hippocampus. Hippocampus, your brain is like, suppose I take this stem and then my brain actually grows around it. So this part is the most ancient aspect of my brain, which is called the limbic brain. This is the place where emotions reside. This is the place where feelings reside. This is the place where I make decisions. So when our hippocampus actually starts growing and actually starts becoming better and better, your ability to rebound after a disaster, learn from the experience and make right decision is from research perspective, it has been seen to improve. People who meditate deeply on a regular basis, they actually become better decision makers. Why? Because decision always has this tug of war between emotions and logic. It's always a tug of war between what you like and what you have to do. And meditation and these elements which actually grow up in our system, it helps you become more self-regulated.
Excellent.
Great. It actually makes you become self-regulated, and that's where your good decision actually becomes. See, good decisions is, like what? As they say, our traditionals used to say, the good decisions are made in the gut. It's not literally the gut, it's not really the gut. but sometimes you know this is what's going to do, this is what's going to work, this is what I should do, and it was you may not have a rational understanding of why they should be done. So what's happening is, imagine a pan of water which is boiling, right? Boiling pan of water. And if I put a gold coin in that pot and I ask you to see that gold coin, can you see it? Probably not, because there is all this foam on the top of this, there's bubbles. What you need to do, you need to switch off the flame, let the water cool down. Now, when the water cools down, you can automatically see the coin, right? That's exactly intuition works. The intuition is there in everyone's system, but for most of us, our minds are ruffling like that boiling water. We can't see. And even if somebody comes and tells us, hey, follow your intuition, you say, I don't have one because I can't see one. But that's not the point. The point is all these things that is happening in between. And all you need to do is, first of all, switch off the flame. That's what mindfulness is. Switch off the flame. Let it smoothen down. You'll automatically see the coin. And then once it cools down sufficiently, you can pull out the coin. Good decision making is exactly like pulling out that gold coin, which you know and exists inside you, but sometimes it just becomes inaccessible. Amazing. You have to access it.
Never heard. Very, very interesting.
Thank you. But this is how you have to access it, right? So when people actually, it happens even in the corporate world, like my father is a lawyer, and he would tell me that most of the judges never give a serious decision post-lunch. Not because they have had a heavy lunch, but there is something called as decision fatigue. There is something called as decision fatigue where your brain system actually gets fatigued in trying to give you good decisions. You might, when you don't exercise your brain, all your body parts need exercise. What is the exercise we are giving our brain? When we are leading in anxiety, even your sleep is not resting your brain. You need to rest your brain. Mindfulness and meditation is exactly an exercise for the brain, a resting time for the brain. Engines shut off. Don't think about too much. Focus, meditate, peacefully settle down, right? And then you get nourished, you get basically connected with your own inner self, and then you know exactly what you want to do, and therefore you make decisions. So when we talk about meditation and mindfulness, 100%, it will actually improve your decision making because you're more self-aware. You know what you like, you know what you dislike, you know what you want in life. You're very clear about your choices, you're very clear about your options, and therefore you're able to make a good decision. Like, I was telling a youngster that, we lead life in 3 phases. Technically, it is called as the 3 modes of material nature called Satogun, Rajogun, and Tamogun. But, a teenage brain doesn't understand all these jargons. So I told them life operates in 3 ways. One is regulation, agitation, and procrastination. When regulation is Sattva, agitation is Raja, and procrastination is Tamas. Mindfulness brings you to Sattva, brings you to regulation. And only when you are in Sattva, you know exactly what needs to be done. Options are laid out in front of you, black and white, and you just know exactly what I need to choose. Decision making becomes like a hot knife through butter.
Amazing.
It's actually a pleasing experience.
So we want you to Pavitra and do us a mantra meditation course very soon. But now
I'll be happy to do that. And regarding the teenagers, the other aspect of teenagers, we need to actually understand that we have the son in your home or the daughter in your home, and all of those who are hearing this conversation is younger than internet. Please remember this. They are younger than internet, and they have got the vibes of internet while they were in the womb of their mothers. They probably were probably growing up inside the womb of their mothers while their mothers were watching Netflix and watching whatever, and they actually already have a flavor for all of those things.
Absolutely.
And you can see how expert they are in all of that stuff.
True.
So you can't like detach them from that, because that's what gives them energy. The challenge that you have, the parenting is becoming challenging in the social media, and I definitely vouch for it. It's extremely challenging because you have to. Youngsters are not attached to gadgets, not attached to social media. What they're attached to is experience. If you can give them an experience which is more enthralling, more lively, more beautiful than their cell phone, they would ditch it. I vouch for it, they would ditch it. And for that, we need to actually really connect with them. Like I was telling one, of course, I'm not grown up children, but I just by my observation, I was telling them that how from the age of till 10 or 11, children are seeking fun. You see them, the way they take education, it's fun. The way they take, you leave them, they will just do some fun-filled activities, whether it is playing, whether it is studying, whether it is eating, they just want fun. From 11 to 20, they go into exploration. What is she doing? What is she wearing for the party? Where are they going for vacation? Where are they going for dinner? What car he is driving? Where is he living? Exploration and total comparison that keeps on happening between 11 to 20. And beyond that is commitment. So when our youngster wants to explore, we need to be present with them and show them the variety instead of snubbing their curiosity. Because when we snub their curiosity, we are actually hampering the nature's way of growing an individual. So, but we have to be there with them, open, candid conversations, and just talk to them like a friend. Like my dad used to tell me, in Hindi, he used to say, "Beta, jab baap ka juta bete ke pair mein aane lage, to baap ko apni auqat samajh leni chahiye." But literally, he would say that when the son is 16 or 15, he actually becomes a friend to his father. And that's what I grew up, It's like my father was my friend, man, and we could discuss everything about whatever. And now you won't believe, I was a monk for last 1 decade, but before that, my teenage years were also very upheaval and everything. My day would begin with all kind of rock music and everything else. And my mom was like, "My God, what's happening?" And my dad would say, "Chill, let him, whatever he wants to do." So the point is, it's like horse riding, You may not be able to control the speed of the horse. Make sure it runs on the road only. Let him decide the speed. You just decide the direction. And if they are going here, there, just correct their direction. Don't check their speed. Very important. This is the mistake we do at times. We want to correct their direction, but we'll end up checking their speed and they get disturbed with that. "Mummy, aap mujhe samajhte nahi ho. Papa, mujhe aap samajhte nahi ho." Why? You are checking their enthusiasm, you're checking their interest, you're checking. Probably we need to check their direction and have a conversation on that level, but don't check their speed.
So I think amazing stuff. And I have one thought that, maybe the mental issues that are coming to the forefront today in young adults are probably a sort of germination of the young age where you said that we are sometimes snubbing our children rather than engaging with them. And maybe then that becomes in their mind. And these issues may manifest when you're, in your 20s and stuff, because you're not in the habit of getting answered. You just need to keep it in, or you're snubbed, so to speak. Interesting.
Exactly.
Exactly. We have a couple of great learning. Thank you so much. So we have.
Thank you, Chetan. Thank you.
And then we have a question coming up on the screen that how does one build resilience in these times?
How does one build resilience in these times? Okay. Thank you for that question, Rekha ji.
Covered.
See, what happens is resilience is the capacity to rebound. Like I give example of a warrior in a war. When he gets shot by a bullet in his leg, what does he do? How does he rebound? First of all, he leaves that place and goes into his camp. He retreats. He takes treatment, he rejuvenates, and then he rebounds. Similarly, when we talk about resilience in our own personal life, we need the capacity to rebuild ourselves after a fall. Do we have those elements which actually rebuilds ourselves, right? If you're, we can be living in two kind of mindset, either a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. The fixed mindset is like a feet stuck in tar. You have this road made in tar, and if your feet get stuck, you can't dissociate yourself. That's like the fixed mindset. This is like that mindset where you feel that, oh, this is the way I always did business. Oh, this is the way I always had my life. Oh my God, now how it's going to happen? You're stuck. You're not able to move. Growth mindset is like opening of a lotus flower. As the sun comes, the lotus flower opens up, looks at various options, looks at various opinions, adjusts and adapts itself. So again, as I was mentioning in the beginning, for resilience to happen, we need to have this mindset of flexibility and adaptability. And that is only possible if we operate from the level of a sense of purpose. Like I often talk to, whether it is teenagers or housewives or corporates or business heads, whatever, this concept is so profound. We basically have three kind of people in life. There are definers, detailers, and doers. So definers are people who act on values, they have a sense of purpose, they have an idea to kind of chase. Right. Detailers are, they generally focus more on how that idea has to actually come into reality. But doers are those who just are hands-on what is right now in front of them. In order to be resilient, and if you're a leader, if you're responsible for people, you can't be in that space of doers and detailers. You can always hire people to do detailing job for you and doing job for you. For having resilience in your business or relationships or wherever, you need to be in the space of definers who operate from the level of a purpose. What am I doing? Why am I even starting? Why am I doing business? Why am I studying? Why am I doing this? Why am I speaking? Why am I doing an Instagram live? You need to have a sense of purpose, and that purpose is what actually drives you. As again, I was saying this analogy of climbing a mountain. The purpose is to reach the summit. Then you can easily adjust the details and the exact actions that you need to take. So I think that's how you develop resilience in life.
So
I hope it answers.
Two last points. We said we'll chat for 30 minutes, but we've already, spoken to you for long, and time flies by when you're speaking because it's so amazing to hear you. But
thank you, Chetan.
The pandemic has brought about, obviously, people have lost businesses, and are sort of figuring out ways to survive and sustain. On a lighter note, we have some professionals who are licking their lips because people in the legal profession are saying that, post this pandemic, we're going to have a lot of people coming to us with personal issues and saying that we want to stop being with each other and stop hanging out with each other. So, all the things that you've spoken of, some of them are also relevant to people in relationships. But, in these challenging times with kids and some people with or without kids, how does one keep it together? What is your mantra? What can you give us to say, keep it together, this time will pass, and, you can make a life together?
Thank you so much for this question. It's pretty pertinent. Actually, the way human psychology works and the way we are kind of wired, we often focus more on negativity than positivity. Like if I ask you on a couch conversation, Chetan, tell me 3 disasters that happened in your life. You'll be like this, right? But if I ask you 3 lovely things that happened in your life, okay, yeah, ek tab hua tha, probably. We're like lost. We don't hold positive memories. I was telling them that as you walk through the landscape of life, don't forget to plant some sweet memories when you look back. So what happens is when we are living together, there are 2 ways of living together. One thing is we can be focusing on our deficiencies. Isne ye nahi kiya, usne wo nahi kiya, isne ye nahi kiya, usne wo nahi kiya. That could be one way, right? And now this whole philosophy comes from sports. I was personally a soccer player. So this is how our trainer used to train us up. One way he could train us up is by telling us what we were doing wrong. And another way he used to train us up was by telling us what we were doing right and what we are good at. So he will tell us, you are good at forward defend, go there. You are good at forward strike, improve the game there. Sometimes you would have to punish the goalkeeper and say you are not doing a good job properly. When we are living in a family relationship, which are very close quarters, you will get to see each other's weakness. It is very natural. You will get to see each other's weakness. Problem is not with the other person's weakness. That may be there. Problem is you don't have the capacity to deal with that weakness which irritates you. Simple. We don't have the capacity to deal with the weakness which actually irritates us. So irritation is not because of that weakness. Irritation is because of my inability to deal with that weakness. If I develop the capacity, if I start seeing that this deficiency which I'm seeing in the other person is an indicator of what I should work on myself, life will be pretty exciting because every weakness will only show you how you become a better version of yourself. And once you have the capacity to deal with the negative, capacity to deal with the deficiency, when you see the deficiency, you just see an opportunity to help someone else. Like a physician, if he's expert at surgery, as soon as he sees a patient, he just sees an opportunity to help someone. If you don't know surgery and you see someone suffering, you will panic. So in this pandemic time where all of you are staying together, maybe spend this time to know each other better. As I said, spend some non-agenda driven times. Go and tell maybe a wife can go and tell her husband, I can't handle these kids. I just don't know how to engage them. Can you please help me? You know what happens? Many times in relationship, we want to come out as Superman or Superwoman. I can manage things, I can do everything, I don't need any help. Because we think if I show my weakness, I'll be seen as a weak person. Please understand, having weakness and being weak are two different things. Sometimes people who appear as very strong could be the weakest people because they don't accept their weakness. But if I can come up to you and say, hey Chetan, I need help with this, that actually shows my strength, not weakness. Right? So in this community where you're living with children, living with parents, living with your spouse, and you might be wondering what's going to happen, you can actually take this opportunity to look at what is it that is irritating me, and what is it that I need to develop in my life to handle to deal with this. You can even go up to your spouse and say, hey Chetan, it's good to have you, but you are sitting all the day in the couch and ordering me for coffee. It sometimes just irritates me. Can we have a deal? Like before 12, you make coffee, after 12, I make coffee. Does that sound like a deal? Add some humor to life.
No, I'm kidding. That was just a joke.
Right. So I'm saying that the point is we need to add also some humor and lightness in our life. Learn to interact with people. Learn to see that we are all as work in progress. Just like I am tolerating that other person, rest assured he is also tolerating you. So be grateful for that connection and try to see the common grounds where you can connect instead of differences. So as I said, our trainer used to train us by showing our deficiencies, and sometimes used to train us by showing us our strengths. And that kind of training which we impart to people and individuals, I do workshops on that, we call it character strength building, which came from psychologist called Martin Seligman in the year 2000. It's a very profound concept of how you can build people by focusing on their strengths and not weaknesses. Even an apparently inappropriate behavior is somewhere lying dormant. The solution of it is somewhere lying dormant in how you hone up that person's positive character, right? So I think...
Last, just a comment on, so I think, like you mentioned, I think being in a more calmer place with your mind, having less anxiety, looking at it in a better vision will also help you manage your relationships better, because you are able to, like you said, the other person's weakness and react in a more positive manner to
absolutely,
to fix it. I mean, not to fix it, but to live with it, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Avatar Lila, and I know we are pressed for time, but people are asking, please recommend us some books that we can give our teenagers or ourselves, a couple of books on, opening up our minds, enhancing our wisdom, some of the things that you spoke about. Anything comes to mind?
Okay, that's always a tough question for me, because as soon as you ask me this question, I have like 20 names already in my head and I don't want to confuse you. But the book that personally I feel, which I deeply connect with strongly, because now some of you might be reading scriptures, some of you may not, but I personally connect a lot with the scriptures like Gita and Srimad-Bhagavatam, and I try to read them not just as religious scriptures, but as stories of people who went through the same kind of issues as I'm going through, we all are going through in life. It's just the context is different, and there is a lot of wisdom that actually gleans through it. Other book I can honestly recommend from my heart is the one book that really gives me a lot of positivity and hope is, I like reading biographies, therefore I like the book called The Journey Home, which is a classic story of a 17-year-old boy walking from Chicago in search for his own aspiration, a purpose which was so profound for him that he didn't mind sacrificing anything that came his way and found what he wanted to. And what happens when you lead a life of purpose is that instead of becoming exploitative, you become a contributor. And that's so profoundly expressed in this book. I can't recommend it less for that. So that is one book you could be reading. Then if you are looking at business space or things like that, you could probably look at some authors like C.K. Prahalad. If business is something, he has written a book called Innovation at the Bottom of the Pyramid. Very beautiful book, especially for the current times where people are struggling with entrepreneurship and all that stuff. Or there is a book by Rashmi Bansal, who has written a book upon connecting the dots. Stay Hungry, Stay Foolish. It's also a very beautiful book also. So, and if on relationships you want to read, then you can probably read a book by Gary Chapman. That's also a very profound book on that gives you understanding of why different people behave differently, especially in a kind of a conjugal or a spouse relationship. You understand how people behave differently. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Avatar Lila. That was unbelievable and very, very profound. So, what next for all of us is to be positive, have a bigger view in life, and the Spanish flu hit us, the Great Depression hit us, which was economic. One was uh, a virus. 1957. Also, I was reading there was a flu that hit us, and 2 million people died. So this will pass. This is not the end of civilization. We need to be positive. What's next for us is probably a better life, a better world going forward. Thank you. Please come back again on Pavitra. We are looking forward to you hosting a few mantra meditation sessions with us. Look forward, and thank you everyone for attending. Hope to see you again soon on another session. Have a Pavitra evening.
Grateful. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Chetan.